In this video, I'm going to show you how to take your audio podcast, convert it into little video clips in Square format, and schedule them to go onto LinkedIn. One note though, we can't directly publish to your LinkedIn profile, but we can schedule them to go to your LinkedIn company page, and we can automatically share them to your profile from there. If you don't have a LinkedIn company page, it's no problem. I'll show you where you can go so you can create one. It's pretty fast and it's simple to do. The first thing you got to do is go to the connections page and first check that you have an audio podcast connection. If you've been following the video series, you should have one by now. If you're doing this for the first time, you can choose audio podcast, add connection, and give it a name and add your podcast feed or Apple Podcast URL. I already have one, so I'm not going to add it again. And the second thing you want to do is add your LinkedIn connection. So choose LinkedIn, add connection, give it a name. I'm going to say Hanny's LinkedIn. Click connect. It's going to pop up, ask me to log in to my LinkedIn account, sign in, and we're done. Then you need to go to your workflows page and create a new workflow. So this workflow is going to be podcast to LinkedIn. It's going to be Square, and it's going to be snippets as well. So I'm going to choose my audio podcast, convert audio to video, that's right, and change from full episodes to snippets because there is a 10 limit snippet on LinkedIn videos. I still don't recommend you going that far. I would recommend you keep it to around 2 minutes or so. Say next, choose an output. I'm going to choose LinkedIn. When you choose LinkedIn, the option is for company page and you can't change that. That's a limitation on LinkedIn side. I'm hoping that changes in the future, but at the moment you can only upload to LinkedIn company pages. So if you have multiple pages, it'll show you both your pages. You select the one that you want. I'm going to select this one for this demo and click create. Here's our workflow. I click view episodes, and similar to what we've seen for Facebook, similar to what we've seen for Twitter, the process is the same. Our snippets are automatically created and they appear here automatically because we've entered them into our podcast host when we uploaded this episode. So timestamps are here in my podcast host, which means we have our snippets automatically created. If I want to edit these, I can edit the start and end times, or I can even create a new clip if I want to as well. If I go in the settings, make sure your progress bar is on and change this to Square. If you want to have a preview to see what it looks like, you can click any of these. And basically there are a few elements. There's a title that comes across the top. You can do a title or you can do a quote, for example. You can customize that text. That's like your main headline that's going to grab someone's attention. Then there's the waveform that comes up right here. And if you turn on the waveform progress bar, it appears right inside the waveform. It's really cool. It looks great, but it also helps people know that this is a short clip, which will increase their chances of sticking around and listening to the entire clip. Your image comes in from your artwork, from your podcast, or your episode specific artwork, which both are set in on your podcast host. And then we have an option for subheadline. So you can type in any kind of text you want here, or you can set a generic text so that every episode has the static text. For example, you can have a call to action to say, visit repurpose.io to, get the full show notes, or subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Right? Something generic, some call to action you can put here, or you can customize it on a per video basis. Back to Repurpose, I'm just going to choose the blue template. If you want to design your own templates, we have specs right here. You can click here, download the specs. And once you design it, you can use a free tool like Canva, design it, and then upload your template file here. The default subheadline, like I mentioned earlier, if you want the same text to appear below the video on every video we create, and you don't want to keep typing it in every time, you can add that default subheadline here. Intros and outros. I don't recommend intro files when you're doing short clips. Outro files, if you want to add a short outro video, it has to be matching the final product that's made by Repurpose. So in this case, a LinkedIn video is going to be a square and it's going to be a video. So your outro has to be a square video as well. It could be a video of you talking, or it could be a little clip with some image and you talking over it, saying, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. So you have to create this video on your own using your own video editing tools. Then the last thing I want to show you is, well, two things. First, you want to change the default snippet duration. I personally like it to 2 minutes, which is 120 seconds. And last but not least, this is the option I would mention earlier, share video to my personal feed. So if you turn this on, every time we publish a video to your LinkedIn company page, it will automatically be shared to your personal feed so all your connections can see it. I'm going to click save, and the strategy is the same. I'm going to go ahead and click publish, and with the description, this is a full description that comes from your podcast host. You probably want to delete this and just leave the description related to this particular clip, right? Because the default description comes from your podcast host, applies to the entire episode. So, my suggestion is to cut it down to be short. You can add some hashtags here as well. You can do what you want. This is a description that's going to get posted on to LinkedIn. And I know LinkedIn does really well with hashtags. So if you have your hashtags, put them in here. Say video marketing, podcasting, etc. And the strategy here is you want to schedule, not publish now, you want to schedule. So I'm going to schedule this, let's say for the next morning, and hit schedule. And then you want to repeat this for the next 4 clips as well. So the goal is to schedule 5 clips, 1 per day, so that you have content every single day for the next 5 days. If you refresh the page, I'm just checking it's not preparing the video. So what happens is it makes the video in advance so that you have a chance to preview what it looks like before it gets published. After a few minutes, it's scheduled. You can hover over it and see exactly what date and time it's being scheduled for. And if you want to see what it looks like, you can click this eye icon. Now, one last thing, if you don't have a company page, you can create one very easily. You just head on over to linkedin.com, and under the work category, click down and say create a company page. It asks you a few questions about your business, and then you're good to go. And one last thing to mention, if you don't like uploading to a LinkedIn company page, here's one workaround. You can go ahead and create a new workflow, and very similar to how we do with IGTV, you would send your podcast to Dropbox in Square format. So that way you can send them as an audio podcast, snippets. This time we're going to send it to a Dropbox, and that way we can grab them from Dropbox and upload them to LinkedIn manually. It is a manual upload to LinkedIn, but at least the video files will be sitting there waiting for you in your Dropbox folder.